Hello guys, welcome to AJ channel. This is my second video in my channel. In this video, I'm starting with phase 2, that is the infrastructure as code. Here I'm start with the Terraform. So everywhere if we go, we manage our project infrastructure on any cloud using the Terraform only. So this is kind of pretty much important topic. That is why I'm starting with it. So in this series, we will be saying more about Terraform in depth, and later on we will see the real use cases. So without wasting any time, let's move on to the topic. Now we're gonna to see Terraform overview. By following that, we are going to see why we should use this Terraform, then finally how Terraform works. And we move on to Terraform overview. So Terraform was created by Ashoka Organization. So Ashoka Organization is a leading software company in the software industry. And the motto of Terraform is whenever we are getting any requirement from the development team, let's say development team wants 5 different configurations to instances. In that case, what we will do, we go to the respective cloud and respective services. In this case EC2 instances, and in that there is a button called launch instance. By clicking that, we will create a single instance, right? So in this case, development team needs 5 instances, right? So we will do the same process with a different configuration for all 5 instances, right? It clearly shows that this way takes more time, and also there might be error prone. So this is where the Terraform coming into the play. By using Terraform, we can manage our entire infrastructure such as Listen to S3, Lambda, EKS, everything by writing a few lines of code instead of relying on the respective cloud UI. So let's see the scenario one, so you will get better understand about it. In Visual Studio, under Overview folder, I have Scenario and Scenario 2. So now we're gonna to see the Scenario 1. In Scenario 1 folder, I have 2 files. There are main.df and profit.df. Don't worry about the file structuring and what content both this file has. We will learn more about this on coming videos. So let me open first provider.df. Here I have specified the AWS provider. It's because currently I'm using the AWS. That is the reason I have specified the AWS provider here. In main.df file, I have specified 2 resource blocks. There are AWS security group and AWS instance. So this AWS security group is used to create the security group. And the same way this AWS instance resource is used to create the instance on AWS. Don't worry about the configuration that I given on both resource block. It is out of scope. We will learn more about upcoming videos. So now I'm going to show you how Terraform creates these 2 resources in a minute. Before that, let me go to the AWS console. In console, I don't have any instances right now. And let me go back to the terminal, cd to scenario 1. Let's see. So before applying any changes, any Terraform changes on AWS, Terraform has their own lifecycle stages that we need to follow. So first, what we need to do, we need to run the Terraform init. So this init will download the providers that we mentioned in our code. In this case, we specify the AWS, right? So this AWS provider will be downloaded in your local by running Terraform init. Let me run it. You can see when I'm running the Terraform init, it started to install the AWS provider. The same as I mentioned in the provider also. So now the Terraform has completed its initialization. So as a result of it, you can see dot Terraform hidden folder in your local. So this hidden folder will have AWS provider. So this provider will be used to connect to your AWS account. Now once you initialize, then run the Terraform. Upgrade and be expanded. So now you can see two to add. One is AWS instance and another one is AWS security group. Yes, this is as per our code. Let me enter this. Once you enter the yes, then is Terraform starts to create. I entered. Now Terraform starting to create the AWS security group. This is in the creating state. Yeah, security group creation has completed. Now it is in the process to create the instance. I'm still creating that. Now see the AWS instance has created. Now let me go to the console. Let me refresh it. Yeah, now you can see the instance has been created here. Same way, let me duplicate this too. Let you open the security group. In that security group, you can see one more security group which I have created just now. So this security group will be present by default on AWS. You can include this. So 22 seconds will be taken to create the AWS instance, and 8 seconds will be taken to create security group. So the overall less than 40 seconds has been taken to create the two resources. Now let's move on to my notepad. Yeah, this is the pretty much I have about the Terraform overview. Now let's move on to why we should use Terraform. So in this section, I have listed 3 points why we should use Terraform. Let's move on to the first one, that is a declarative coding. So as you seen in the scenario one, we didn't write any complex code, right? Like initialize any variable or return any for loop, while loop, something, right? We didn't write anything like that, like a complex code. We just written these two resource block. One is the AWS security group and another one is AWS instance. So by written this declarative code, we can achieve the creation of any resources on AWS. So this is the first advantage how why we should use Terraform. Also, this declarative coding is easy to write and easy to understand. Now let's move on to the second reason, that is a version controlling. Suppose consider you applied some infrastructure changes on cloud. Later on you find out that the applied infrastructure changes were wrong. In that case you have to revert your infrastructure changes to working infrastructure changes, right? Suppose if you are using Git and any storage servers such as GitHub and Stairs or Bitbucket along with Terraform, then you can easily achieve the version controlling. Let's see the scenario 2 to get better understand. So under scenario 2, I have two files, main.tf and provider.tf. Don't worry about this Terraform and Terraform log, Terraform tf state and Terraform tf state.backup file. These files are added as a result of Terraform apply. Don't worry about these files. We will learn more about that file later on our coming videos. Let's move on to the two files. One is the provider.tf. In provider.tf, I have provided the same AWS provider. Inside main.tf, I have only one resource, that is AWS security group. And the configuration of security group is I have two ingress and one ingress. And the name of the security group is scenario 2 hyphen EC2 hyphen SC. This resource I have already applied on AWS. If I go to AWS under security group, you can see scenario 2 hyphen EC2 hyphen SC. If I click that, then you can see the inbound rules. In inbound rules, you can see only two ingress, and if I click outbound rules, you can see only one. Also, the changes I have already added into my local Git. If I type git log, there is only one command, that is the initial changes. So this initial change is nothing but these changes only. Now what I'm going to do, simply gonna to uncomment this commanded lines. I'm going to add one more ingress rule. into AWS, also in Git. Let me add into my local Git and main TF, then Git commit. So let me name it as second changes. Now I vector Git log. Now my head is pointing to the second change commit. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply it. And Terraform apply. I already initialized, so no need to again initialize before apply. So now if you see the plan, one more ingress is added. Let me type, yes, I'm good with the changes it has. Now the existing security group is modifying. Yeah, it's modified. Let me go back to AWS. Let me refresh the outbound rules, not outbound rules. You may go back to, yeah, see here one more security rule is added. Now consider the added one was wrong. So we need to revert back, right? So that revert can be do by using the Git. Let me go back to the terminal, type Git log. So right now my head is pointing to the second commit, right? So now I want to revert back to initial changes. So let me copy first 6 character of commit, then in Git to revert back to previous commit, Git offers two commands. One is a reset and a revert. Don't worry about these two commands. We will learn more about on Git series or coming videos. Right now I'm going to use Git reset, then I need to use the hard. When you are using the hard flag, the changes on the working directory also reverted back. So that is why I'm using the hard and paste the 6 letters of commit. Now we log, see, now our head is pointing to initial changes commit. So now run the Terraform. Okay. Also, if you see working directory changes, now it's revert back. Now the uncommanded one back to the commanded one. Now go back to the terminal again. See now in the Terraform plan, you can see clearly one removal. Type yes. Now the security group is modified. See, it's modified. Now go back to the AWS and currently it has 3. Now let me refresh it. Yeah, now the infrastructure changes has reverted back successfully. Right now I use simple example, but in the real time this is not the case. In real time you will apply many changes in a single go. So at the time if you feel the applied changes are wrong, then you can use the Git to revert back your changes in your local first, then do the Terraform apply. So using Git and any storage like GitHub or Bitbucket or Stash something, you can easily achieve the versioning. Yeah, this is pretty much about the version controlling. Let's move on to the third reason. The another advantage of Terraform is you can get to know the entire state of your cloud. So suppose if you are applying any changes on any cloud, so like creating EC2 instance or creating S3, that information will be present on your state file. Let's take the same scenario in 1 and 2 that I have already applied some changes, right? In scenario 1, you can see there is a file called dev state file. So this is a state file. So in scenario 1, I apply two resources. One is AWS security group and another one is a AWS instance. If I look on the Terraform state file, you can see the two resources inside it. Under resource block, you can see AWS instance and the another one is, if I scroll down, AWS security group. So whatever the infrastructure that you are applying on any cloud, those information will be present under the Terraform state file. Now let's take the scenario 2. Under scenario 2, also there will be a Terraform state file. Yeah, this is the file. In scenario 2, I applied only one resource, that is AWS security group. Same you can see on Terraform state file also. Under resources, you can see only one AWS security group. If I scroll down, there is one more. So by seeing this, what resource that is currently being running on your cloud? Next, the use of statefile. In this case, I store Terraform statefile in my local, but in real world, we are not storing this statefile in local. We store this statefile on S3 or somewhere. So in that case, so there is Terraform also offers a command CLI based approach to get the details also. Terraform has Terraform step command. If I type here, so by using step subcommand, you can get to know the information that is currently stored on the state file. Suppose let's type currently on the scenario 2, right? Let me type Terraform step list. So this will list the resources that is currently under state file. So currently I'm in the scenario 2. So that is the reason I have only one resource. I got if I type Terraform state show then name of the resource. So this show command is used to show the resource arguments. So this is the ARN of that AWS resource, AWS security group, and these are the ingress it does, and these are the ingress it does. So this information you can get by typing this. So we will learn more about the state command later on. So this is the advantage. This is a third advantage of Terraform. Using state file, you can get to know your entire state. Yeah, this is the pretty much about why we should use the Terraform. Now let's move on to how Terraform works. Terraform in begin uses respective cloud public APIs only. Suppose let's consider I want to create one S3 in the name of demo bucket on AWS. So in that case, whenever I apply the respective resource block using Terraform, Terraform in begin call respective cloud API. In this case, S3 endpoint. In that endpoint, Terraform also appended the information that I provided in the resource block in that endpoint and send it to AWS. Then AWS create it. So this is how the Terraform works. Terraform can't work without the cloud APIs. So this is another example. So this Terraform code is used to generate the subnet under this VPC ID. So whenever you are applying ban or apply, the below operation, this code will be performed programmatically by the Terraform. So if you see in the code, it's in the post and see all the data that I provided here will be sending as a data to this endpoint. So this is how the Terraform works. So in summary, Terraform uses the respective cloud APIs to do any operation like create, delete, modify, or update anything. So without the cloud APIs, Terraform can't work. Yeah, this is all about uh, today video. So in summary, we see a general overview of Terraform and why we should use the Terraform. 3 reason we see. So one is the declarative coding, and the second one is the version controlling and state of the cloud. And last we see how the Terraform works. Yeah, this is pretty much about this video. And don't forget to subscribe my channel. So your subscribe will motivate me to do more videos. So please subscribe my channel. Thank you. Have a great day.